My neighbors are having like a really fun party on the steps. I admit I'm amused. They're playing a card game that asks all sort of questions about their friend group. And part of me thinks, should I go out and join them? And they do look like a fun group. I walked through their group with groceries once. I walked to the garage today. My car's still in the shop. I'm going to have to go back tomorrow because I have to call my bank to clear spending as much as this repair costs. My bank will really only let me spend $1,000 at a time. Unless I call and be like, it's me. That's annoying. But the craziest thing happened. The tire place that I went to, I realized that this guy named Isaiah that I've been talking to, someone I knew from the Big Brothers Big Sisters program a long time ago. And like, I totally knew this person when they were really young. And I've run into him a couple of times over the years. But it's been a while. And we like hung out all evening and he gave me a ride back. I'm going to go back and get my car tomorrow. But that was so crazy. Small Albuquerque. My neighbors are living it up. I guess let's look at the last notebooks. Why not? I was watching this movie for the first time. Sideways, pretty good so far. I like Alexander Payne. He's a good director. Tells good stories. I liked Election a lot. At least one other I'm trying to remember. My neighbors sound like they're having so much fun. I feel like, should I go out there? One thing that gives me pause, because they're a friendly group, they'd probably be cool. I was already talking to one of them on the stairs when Isaiah was over. And I know Linda, she's the main voice. Let them live their lives. So we looked at these other notebooks of mine in the previous 3 videos. And now we're gonna look at this one. So it just says war. I've never been pro-war, so what was this, irony? Stamp, 3 cents. It was great, the era of having these as my wallets everywhere I went. I wrote down so many things. One of the Stillard's gift card has like hundreds of dollars on it. Good title, Interrobang. Use the punctuation throughout. And Interrobang is a, exclamation mark and question mark hybrid. I just typed the 2 together. Sitting beneath the only turned-on lamp in an otherwise darkened house, in a pool of light, on an island of light, the light around me dusty with darkness. Yeah, I guess that's all right. Sitting beneath the only turned-on lamp in an otherwise darkened house, in a pool of light, on an island of light, the light around me dusty with darkness. I like that. That's kind of lyrical. That's cool. I wonder if I ever use that in anything. I don't think I did. What a freak I am. Why did I write that down? I'm like happy with these notebooks a little bit. I haven't really looked at them much before. What? Idea. The story of an unlikely friendship between JFK and Thomas Jefferson. JFK travels back in time repeatedly to meet with Thomas Jefferson and talk about the effects of Thomas Jefferson's legacy. History changes. What? Idea. What would happen if a tunnel was drilled from the bottom of the ocean to the Earth's outer core? Would the Earth explode, or would its core cool and solidify, destroying the Earth's magnetic dynamism, or whatever that is, removing the atmosphere, etc.? Movie. Someone drills to the core on purpose, where they try to stop them, etc. Oh, you really thought this one out before you wrote that one down. Like, this is kind of amusing. Idea. Airplane hunters. Clients pay big money to spend a week in an island getaway shooting down airplanes with bazookas / handheld rocket launchers. Handheld carryable weapons only to make it more of a sport. A few rules. No survivors, even if it means shooting all 140 surviving down passengers individually. The pilot's wheel is considered the trophy to take. What on earth? This is like when I first heard the premise of Ratatouille. I was like, how is that a movie? The story in particular of one shot down plane and its survivors. Airplane hunting with bazookas? What? Okay, I think this is a note from an interview I did with somebody. Cattle mutilations. A friend came to visit. Hiked ABQ Trail into Manzanos to top. Near the top, we came to a clearing, and there were all these dead cows, and they were burned. 7 or 8 cows kind of in a circle, skin totally burned, Everything inside them was gone, and their skin was totally burned. Beverly Stengel. Whoa! There's some freaky stuff. Do I still have that one book? This is a very interesting artifact. The ultimate novel of the mysterious animal mutilations. This is a real artifact of a time when people were really talking about this. This is a topic that has been memory hold. Even in the local fringe communities, they talk about weird stuff like that. The tiny New Mexico town of Los Sombras has been stunned by the discovery of over 300 cattle killed and mutilated one night, the largest slaughter yet, and wave of brutal mutilation sweeping the western ranches. Bob Gallegos and Sheriff Louis Baca are baffled by the seemingly endless blind alleys they encountered during their investigation. And they find the body of Mary Castillo cut up just like the cows. It was time for the mute strategy. Either we've got a UFO situation or a massive conspiracy which is enormously well-funded. Senator Harrison Schmitt. Well, I really never know what I'll find when I open up these notebooks. This was Pocket Notebook 29, 14. I don't know whose painting is that. That's quite beautiful. Never let an opportunity pass you by. My first married apartment. That was crazy. Still trying out that Mick America pen name. It's like Mick America, like McDonald's, like corporate. That was also a nickname my brother called me, Mick. So that's where that came from. It's a pretty good pen name. But the more I think about writing nonfiction, the more I think about maybe you should be yourself, own it. Because writing any like giant work of memoir is kind of telling on everybody you've ever known, basically. Even if you're always trying to be fair and, not villainize anybody. Taking a painter's work and building a story around it. Yeah, Brendan Killian, he's this great artist I knew in Boston. So talented. That guy could paint a cloud. My goodness. Wilson Hurley levels of luminousness. Winslow Homer levels. That one Russian guy, what's his name? Amazing. Idea, man microwaves food, has a heart attack of sorts. Goes to hospital, finds out his pacemaker failed. He never knew he even had a pacemaker. What? When and how did he get it? A mystery. Conspiracy. Car wrecks. Huge. Dozens of cars. Wrecked car. Transport truck arrives. Car drives on. Is never seen again. That happened to my parents' friends. I didn't know I loved Spoon River so much back then. Movie, Spoon River, based on the anthology. What? I'm really just obsessed with the same stuff my whole life. Anti-linear without the poetry. A minute or two for each poem. The best poems. Oh, I've forgotten how much I liked it. The second time, I was like, what is this? This is so good. I'm thinking maybe I read it 3 times. But I think I've only read the second one once, and that one's amazing too. I think it's just a continuation. Scene. People leave a concert to their cars in an underground lot, but every car refuses to start. Nothing starts. And everyone's angry. Why? What? To me, that suggests something nuclear has happened. Because in the movie The Day After, there's a scene where people's cars just all stop on the freeways for a minute. But it could go all kinds of ways. You could go magical realism and straight up fantasy, sci-fi. Another movie, Spoon River, based on the best of anthology, tighter, no poetry. That's a strange note. When the action pauses, something new happens. What? I wanted to write. I kind of vaguely remember this. Like a dramatic, feature about Survivor. Write Survivor movie as a TV movie. Get script to CBS/Jeff Probst, etc. That was when I was 11, Survivor. I applied a bunch, never got on. My sisters watched every season of it. And they're coming up on their 49th season, she said. That's kind of a cool idea. A movie with 2 protagonists. In this way, one is on the screen almost the entire time. A, the movie mostly follows his actions. Another is the real protagonist. The story focuses entirely on him. B, even though half the time he's off screen, the rest he seems a supporting character. Think of B as Janet Leigh. In Psycho after she dies, but for the whole movie. An absent main character. This idea would be easier if A was a mostly unsympathetic villain. What a cool idea. I wrote this exact same... I must have forgotten I had written this down. In the same notebook. Underground parking lot. People mill into it after a concert night, but no cars will start. Why? Everyone fights and freaks out. Didn't I just read that? I don't think that was this page. Look, here it is on another page. People leave a concert to their cars in an underground lot, but every car if you starts angry. Why? What? Huh? Well, I guess I was insane then, too. My phone's at 5%. I need to plug this in. Hold on. All right. 14's got its treasures in it. This is supposed to be motivational. You'll get what you want most. That is like good folk art wisdom. Yeah. Well, I guess it's good that my book has kind of been this thing I've wanted most. It's gonna happen. And I'll just turn to dust, finally. Promise will have been fulfilled. I can die. Sleep. Eternal slumber. 18. I have good memories of 18. Oh, yeah. That was a key realization for me in art, actually. And in thinking about my own writing in an artful way, minimalism is the art of restraint. And then I would also say maximalism is the art of a lack of restraint. Okay, a lot of this one is about, like, it starts with the story of a family, nonfiction, and it goes, it starts with an individual or two, and then the family, and then their household, and then their neighborhood, and then their city, and just the spectrum keeps getting wider until you're like talking galactic. Pretty good idea. I feel like I've probably done something like that in my work somewhere. Mystery novel series. The detective is a homeless alcoholic drug addict. His life went into a downward spiral when his entire family died. Tragically, it's hired for a case. I had this idea of like, what if you had a barely functional person who was solving cases? Now I feel like that's probably been done, right? That's some noir figures. They're like hopeless alcoholics. I mean, I was thinking like bottom of the barrel, but is still like really gifted and is solving this whatever messed up crime it is. If I ever wrote something like that, it would be a tribute to my mother, because she always loved those things. She was really into Rex Stout and the Nero Wolfe books. Also Agatha Christie. Let's look at this beautiful Agatha Christie. As far as I know, that's the only one I have. Maybe she's in some anthologies that I have, but wow. Amazing. The construction is flawless. Interesting way to think about writing. It's cool. Well, number 26. That one's great. Always a beautiful answer who asks a more beautiful question. Okay, cool. And another idea about a nonfiction book about Glen Canyon, Lake Powell, what it is, what it was. Guide to the Shore of Lake Powell and the Legacy of Glen Canyon. I was like, what do I do with this crazy story? This experience I lived in this super long canoe trip. Oh, I know exactly when this is from. Why did I write Soltero in LA in here? Is that because I just had heard about it? I was reminding myself. I took a trip to LA to see my friend Tim Howard play a Soltero in 2005, and that's what this is from. Because of him playing a live show, and he was like on the indie radar, and we had some good people in the crowd. We got invited to this house show party. Just had people jamming out on guitars and hanging out. And all these celebrities were there, and like movie people. Heather Graham was there. Orlando Bloom was there. It was Heath Ledger's house. One of the crazier like fame brushes of my life. We actually hung out with Orlando Bloom. He was wearing a beanie and kind of keeping a low profile, and he never identified himself. Maybe toward the end. My friend Tim Howard could play everything on guitar, so he was like a total focal point of that show. I remember Desolation Row from Bob Dylan, a big weird sing-along. Oh yeah, Ray told me this story about my friend Ray, about this brothel in Alaska that it was broke down and abandoned when I lived there, and he would point it out sometime, called Miss Edie's. And he said one time he was driving past with his Uncle John, and he was driving with his uncle, and their car broke down, and as they walked by that place, his uncle said something about like, that place is a cat house. And but I've never been in there. And then as they walked by, a woman walked out, Miss Edie, and it was all, John, is that you? Ray, that is such a good story. One of my good old friends. Walked across the country with that guy. He canoed a third of that Lake Powell trip with me. What are these notebooks? Strange little portals to my past. I don't think people realize how much like we change in thinking, and how much we don't too in different ways. But a great observation. Apparently I was eating a lot of tangerines or oranges or something at the time. Calcium-fueled ideas in this one. Vitamin C. Futuristic novel. The story of how the world went from the Brave New World to the world of Anthem, or vice versa. You could pick any two titles and do that, and that's kind of interesting. Oh, that was a good idea. Chapter headings. So I was thinking, scripture and verse, they have chapter headings in many editions of the Bible. and in the Book of Mormon that I grew up with. It's kind of a funny format to play with because you have this little description of what's coming up and it can match it or not. And I wanted the chapter headings, it says here, to be like Dr. Bronner's soap. Those labels are amazing. Have y'all read those? It's this weird hippie soap that it's also a shampoo and conditioner. How? I'm not going to use it for that. The label is just covered in this tiny printed scrawl, and it's like a manifesto about like transform the world by being great. If not now, when? If not you, who? That would be a really funny thing to study and try to turn into something. I don't know that I ever did that. In fact, I ended up just kind of writing it as a novella, and I never did put it into scripture. That was going to be something I was going to do. But when I wrote my nonfiction essay, The Book of Mikey, I did. A lost world of so much thought that I gave that book. I'm like, Morris, who was that character? Is the cop Morris's father? I think so. Oh, this was an incredible conversation. I'm so glad I wrote this down. This was my neighbor, Cody. If you like Survivor, you would love CSI. I'm like, how come? Because it's on right after Survivor. Oh, I love it. My neighbor really said that. He was this hilarious guy. He had MS, which like shaped his life a lot. But he was a really funny guy, and we used to watch movies with him all the time. And Survivor. The Tucumcari girl is a member of the Reborn. She has a secret she doesn't want them to know. When they bring in someone to teach telepathy, that's her flannel straw. That's funny to me. That's part of that novel, another book I was working on too. Good question to ask every character. What is it that character knows so well that it colors how they see the rest of the world? Man, my brain is different now. That's something like, I thought that once, huh? That's interesting. I guess I'm always saying weird stuff, though. Female name, Delia. HCM, common Fitzgerald device, suggested/implied dialogue, as body seemed to say. Okay, I just read something in here that like predicted my future. I can't even believe it. I'm not going to read it. What? Thought theme, you cannot sin enough to be happy. Whoa. This was my Survivor movie idea. So the cast is trying to find a huge treasure while hiding from the camera crew. That's fun. Why did I write this down like this? That literally happened to me. Scene. Man is exhausted and scruffy after a hard day's work and no sleep. He falls asleep on some stone stairs in a big city. When he wakes up and stands up, coins fall from his lap and clink on the street. I literally lived that scene in Boston. Their combination Taco Bell and Pizza Hut on Massachusetts Avenue. Idea, a future journal of what might happen over the next day, week, or month. Also keep a real journal to compare to it. 2002. Was I riding a Greyhound? Boarding the Greyhound, a mustached man kept waving and signaling to a distant orange-clad chain gang. The gang kept waving back. The man explained he had just gotten out of prison that day. That was his old crew. Then he got on the bus, and he was obviously horny. Okay. I asked if she was okay, and she said, no, I'm fine. Word to use, strident. Strident is a good word. 9. Still trying the Make America thing. This is before I had any kids, and that's the name of my third kid, Sonora. Female name, Sonora. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. That's cool. This is from a real moment, very early 2000s. Like 2002, newly married. And I said, Father, don't we live in the best of all possible worlds? And I skipped forth and lived the plot of Candide. Song lyric, a quote from Camelot. I want a kitchen that I never have to see. God has a morbid curiosity about just how else we can screw life on earth up. He craves the new and interesting, even if it's bad. God must be entertained. Idea, a story with no pronouns could be interesting. Fits with another idea in which it's never clear if character is male or female. Not like SNL's Pat, just where it's vague in a way it's told. Like if it's... Jeanette Winters kind of does that with a book called Winter in the Blood, I think. Written on the Blood. Winterson, is that her name? Tanya. It's weird to leave any evidence of your life, you know. Like writing a Twitter feed. I wrote a bunch of Twitter feeds for a long time. It kind of taught me to loosen up with writing and like, you know, release it into the world. This YouTube channel has kind of made me be more okay with mistakes and so on. Because it's like sometimes in a 20-minute video, you'll say something wrong or like whatever, and you're like, well, I'm not going to throw the whole thing out. It's just be wrong. Or whatever, inarticulate. There are such stuff as dreams are made of, and our little life is rounded by sleep. William Shakespeare. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and then there's a sticker from the International UFO Research Center in Roswell. That's cool. I love that quote. I forget what play that's from. Some of these got so trashed. Idea, civilized planet of very simple beings. Earth discovers them. Catholic missionaries sent. Oh, their planet converts. Suddenly Catholics go from 1 to 50 billion. Become insanely powerful, dangerous. And aliens have abilities humans don't. Man, someone should hire me to write sci-fi movies. I've got so many good ideas, apparently. I am going to write a sci-fi novel in November. I rewrite, because I wrote a draft of it once that's been lost. Oh, I still love this idea. This would look so cool. I just see this. Sci-fi setting, a huge Dyson sphere is built around a star, completely enclosing it. Then a concentric outer shell is built around that, and people live on it, making it a world. Warmth comes from the ground. Light comes from holes in the ground that can be closed at night. People stand around pits of distant fire of an underground sun. You can't tell me that wouldn't be cool to see in something. I love that. That's gorgeous. I still think about that sometimes. Every time I hear about Dyson spheres, I'm like, that idea I had. Plants and animals and people transferred from other planet that has now faded into coldness, Earth, thanks to the enclosed sun. Oh, whoa. And I was going to call the light pits light wells, which I thought was so cool. You write that one still. I like that. Seeing a stalker in the bushes at night, peering through his ski mask in a lighted window, quietly singing snatches of From a Distance. It's like a Coen Brothers scene or something. That's funny. Nietzsche investigating who killed God, a pulp detective. Hey, that's kind of fun. We're going to write a mystery book, though. Get over it, Mike. You barely read them. You're not that interested in the form. You just get these ideas once in a while. Idea, short story. One letter from a dying man to his imagined concept of a future clone of himself. He's made arrangements for that to happen. For tone, think Ray Bradbury's Rocket Summer. Human with a sci-fi tinge. Hey. Talk about connection. Shared traits, regrets, hesitation, causing personal flaws, and assurance that the clone will still be his own person with the ability to make his own decisions, etc. Personal responsibility, self-reliance. Sort of a futuristic letter to a child. Interesting. And that's a good idea, too. I could probably get a book just out of typing all this stuff and editing it. I think that's the sort of stuff you save for later in your career, though. But with the giant crazy book that I'm doing now, I could edit this into a long chapter, and it would be a good book-length essay. So many of these are from certain years in the early 2000s. That could be a very interesting collage chapter. Maybe I could write like a preface, like, will someone else do something with these ideas? Pocket Notebook 30. Hey, we're getting down there. Tumbleweeds. One character is a plastic bag. An urban tumbleweed. One of the tumbleweeds falls in love with it. I don't know that was ever in the story I told my kids. Modesto, a point of interest. Taylor was killed right before he was set to leave. Where was he set to leave to? I wish I'd cited my sources on this. This is about the 1936 murder of the journalist Carl Taylor. So I must have kept this notebook when I was working on that book, which came out in 2006. Wow, okay. This is old. This is when I was living at 1605 Gold Street at the corner of Gold and Ash, in a house that had been there for a really long time. Someone had died of scarlet fever in the living room in 1870. It was also the office of an apartment complex that had a different setup back in the 40s and 50s. Our housemate there was our friend Monica. What I've noticed is that New Mexicans really hate Texans, and Texans have no idea that a feud exists. Oh, and I quoted this in my column, My Strange New Mexico. Name, Roland K. Stallings. Okay. The giving of wedding gifts. Society's chance to rush to saddle the new couple with so many possessions they can't possibly quickly revert to their mobile freedom. This is definitely when I was writing My Strange New Mexico. Next week's column. This was modern sightings of pterosaurs in New Mexico. The best one is this kind of Wild Westy one where they tried to lasso him. School in Frost. Oh yeah. Frost is this mountain community on the edge of the Sandias. Dennis Lucero was this amazing 86-year-old guy who was showing me all this stuff. Oh yeah, I meant to meet with this guy, Bill Lockwood. I wonder if he's still around. I highly doubt it. Oh, this is kind of a valuable notebook to me. This notebook was from right after my book came out. And all these people were coming out of the woodwork to be like, hey, I also have amazing historic photos of the areas you document. And this one guy, Bill Lockwood in here, he had been at the Casa Loma Resort back in the day, which was kind of one of the lesser TB resorts up in the Sandia Mountains. Now it's survived by a street name and a hill nearby that shares that name, Earthen House. He had this amazing photo album he brought with to one of my book signings at, I think, a Borders. And he was showing me all these incredible photos of the WPA and other projects that were being done at that time. I'm getting tired. Let's see what else we got here. That scenario with Isaiah was just crazy today. Okay, this is funny but dark. Funny blood donor slogan. And rest easy knowing none of your precious blood will go towards saving Jehovah's Witnesses. Jeez, man. I had a Jehovah's Witness girlfriend for a while in Alaska. They don't believe in blood donation. There's like a verse in the Bible that says something about taking blood into your body. I think it's more about like, don't eat like Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, Saturday, July 28th, Mark Simmons. Yeah, I went to that and I met him and he agreed to write an introduction to my book that was going to be a collection of this old-timey newspaper, the Golden Retort from the 1880s in the area of Golden, New Mexico. He's like, that's a fascinating idea. Yeah, finish it and I'll write an introduction. That would have been so cool, but I never finished it and he died. Book, Cliffy Experience, Mary Lou Heafy. I have that book now. And my writing group wants to do a seance of Cliffy. She's supposedly the ghost that haunts the Albuquerque Press Club where our writing group has met for 20 years. I'm like, I've seen too many horror films. Got that Cliffy book here somewhere. Where's my book? There it is. Cliffy Experience. Yeah, my writing group, where did they even get this idea? Wants to do like a Ouija board seance of this figure. It's interesting. She dated Carl Taylor, the journalist who I've written about extensively that was murdered in 1936. And he gave her a bad check paying her back for something. Dude. Or he got her to write him a check. I'm trying to remember the story. All right, well, we looked at that one. All right, another former Albuquerque Urban Trail Register, and the last of this box's notebooks. Oh, this was Register 1 for top of Vulcan Volcano. We wanted to hide one on there. Back then, the trails went right up to the tops there. Now it's protected tribal land. Trails don't even go to the top anymore. East Mountain Library, always looking for local speakers. I did speak there a couple times. Even with a good marketing department, there's no substitute for doing it yourself. Some sort of notes for something. I don't care to decipher it at the moment. Well, good look at them because they're all going in the trash. Just kidding. I'm going to see if there's anything on that Dillard's card. That'd be funny. One last note on this sticker. You know, the legacy of Jimmy Eat World has really been sadly downplayed. That was a great band with memorable songs. Now I'm one Dillard's card, one clip, and one hole punch hole richer than I was before I did this examination of that box. So now y'all know. Y'all know what lurks in that colorful box there. Symptoms of a diseased mind. Sorts of fanciful notions. Might get a feller in trouble. Still making our way down then. We've looked at genre books, poetry books, philosophy books, personal notebooks. Next it'll be books of utility. Books of pure utility. I have a lot more of this kind of book. I had like a bunch of books on cleaning. Where did those go? Guess I said goodbye. There was The Purge. I used to have 11,000 books. Now I have at most 5,000, probably more likely about 4,000. I've only estimated. Yeah, next time. I hope you have friends that are as fun to hang out with as my neighbors seem to find each other. And if you see Prismo in your dreams, that's a good sign.